Maybe you've heard the axiom, pray as if everything depends on God, but work as if everything depends on you. It seems like Queen Esther is kind of a poster child for that in today's first reading. First of all, a couple of interesting things is that this is the book of Esther, and parts of the book of Esther are those that are disputed by some followers of Christ and even the Jewish scriptures. So the part that we heard today is in that part of the Bible that you wouldn't find in what we typically call like Protestant Bibles, nor would it be honored as part of the Hebrew scriptures, but some of Esther is. So usually that applies to entire books of the Bible, and there's only 7 of those, but there's little portions of the story of Esther that are only in our Catholic Bibles, but thankfully we proclaim those here at Mass, and part of that is what we heard today. So the backstory is that Esther was living in what was then called Persia, and she was a Jew, but living outside of the homeland and living in a land where her worshiping the God of Israel was not the law of the land. It was not the religion of the land. So she and her people were persecuted to the point where we're at this point in the story where they were all about to be put to death, even though she was the queen. Back then, it wasn't like, queen, like we think of Queen Elizabeth, where she's got all this power. She was the wife of the king, and the king was not Jewish, and the king listened to his henchmen who wanted to exterminate all the Jews. So that's why we hear the desperation today of Esther, praying as if everything depended on God. She lays it out there. She says, I'm nothing. It's only because of you. I come before you completely humbly. But then she also, we don't hear the full story in our passage today, but she also works really hard and is pretty clever and politically adept to where she saves her people, her Jewish people that are in the land of Persia there. So she worked hard and she prayed hard. And in fact, one other thing a verse that we don't hear in today's passage, it also describes that she took off her royal garments, probably some royal purple like this, and she put on just rags and covered herself in ashes and did a fast. So right here in Esther's actions, we have praying, fasting, and taking action. Those are our 3 pillars of Lent. That's why this reading is chosen for Lent. We usually have the third one as almsgiving, but making some sort of effort, giving of ourselves. She certainly sacrificed a lot for her people. And I think this is perfect for Lent, even though we're already more than a week in, that we need to be reminded that this is an intense time of praying as if we could do nothing, praying as if everything depended on God. But it's not just that. Prayer and action, acting on our beliefs, going out of our way for someone else, making a sacrifice, spending time that we maybe wouldn't choose to, taking some sort of social action, writing to somebody who's in charge where injustice is happening in the world. Prayer and action both go hand in hand. And Esther really demonstrates that today. And I think our opening prayer also reminds us that there's one other thing that gets in the way of our action. We prayed today, give us, O Lord, a spirit of pondering what is right and of hastening to carry it out. Esther had no choice. She was under the gun. They were about to kill people. Lights a little fire under somebody. For some of us, though, there's maybe less of that urgency to take action in our faith, and we don't hasten to carry it out. We procrastinate, or we kind of lean it all on prayer. Well, I'm praying a lot for Lent, going to Mass more often. Of course, this is good. But Esther didn't just sit there and go, God, fix this situation. She didn't say, God, I hope everything works out with my family that's all estranged from one another. She also took action. Very difficult action. Taking off her robes and sitting in dirty rags and ashes, realizing that it all depends on God, but that doesn't mean it gets us off the hook. So maybe that's a good motto for Lent. Pray as if everything depends on God, but work at it as if everything depended on you. We need both in the spiritual life, particularly during Lent.